From Leshan to Meteor Garden, Dylan's journey of hope and self-doubt. Introduction. Sometimes, life changes in the most unexpected moments. For Dylan, a quiet young man from Leshan, Sichuan, that moment came not in a spotlight, not in an audition hall, but while he was carrying trays in a noisy part-time job at a local cafe. He wasn't looking for opportunity, and certainly not expecting it, but fate has a peculiar way of finding people when they least expect it. A talent scout passing through a small town would soon change the course of his life, setting him on a path toward Meteor Garden, a role that would ignite both hope and self-doubt in equal measure. This is not just a story of fame or fortune. It is a story of what happens when someone ordinary is thrust into extraordinary circumstances, and how self-belief, or the lack of it, can shape destiny. Leshan, a city famous for its towering giant Buddha carved into cliffs, has always been known for quiet strength and resilience. Dylan grew up in a modest household, where values of hard work and humility were deeply rooted. His father worked in transportation, often gone for days, while his mother ran a small noodle stall near the riverside. Dylan, from a young age, was never the loudest or most confident in the room. At school, he was known more for his gentle demeanor than for standing out. His teachers described him as earnest and dreamy, often catching him gazing out of windows instead of fully engaging in lessons. But behind that quiet exterior lay a curiosity for the arts. Whenever he had spare time, Dylan sketched characters from comic books or tried imitating singers he saw on television. His room was cluttered with old notebooks filled with doodles and song lyrics. Still, he never once imagined that these private hobbies could translate into a career. In Leshan, practicality always came first. Dreaming of becoming a star felt too far-fetched, even laughable. By his late teens, Dylan needed to support himself while finishing school. He took up part-time work at a small cafe near the city center. The cafe wasn't glamorous, just a simple place with the smell of roasted beans lingering in the air and the sound of clinking cups filling the background. For Dylan, the job was routine. Wiping down tables, serving tea, balancing trays, cleaning up spilled sugar, his days blended together. Yet, he carried himself with a quiet grace. Customers often noticed the way he treated people politely, the way he smiled, and the way he listened when they spoke. One afternoon, when the summer heat was at its peak, Dylan was working a double shift. His shirt clung to his back, his hair slightly messy, yet he kept going with the same patience. He didn't realize that sitting in the corner of the cafe, observing him carefully, was a woman who was not an ordinary customer. She was a talent scout from Shanghai, passing through Leshan while visiting relatives. The woman had been quietly sipping her coffee, but her attention wasn't on the drink. It was on Dylan. The way he carried trays with balance, the way his expression shifted when talking to customers, and the natural charisma in his movements. There was no arrogance in him, no showmanship, but something raw and unpolished, something she believed would shine on screen if nurtured. As Dylan cleared her table, she finally spoke. "You have an interesting look. Have you ever considered acting?" Dylan blinked, unsure if she was joking. "Me? Acting? No, I just work here." The woman smiled. "Sometimes the best actors are found in unexpected places. I think you should try. Here's my card." She slid a sleek business card across the table. Printed on it were the words, Talent Development, Shanghai Media Group. Dylan held the card as though it were fragile glass. His hands trembled slightly. It felt unreal, like a scene pulled from the dramas he sometimes watched late at night. That night, Dylan couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the card under the dim glow of his bedside lamp. The possibility of stepping into the entertainment world both thrilled and terrified him. His first instinct was disbelief. Why him? He wasn't particularly handsome, at least not in his own eyes. He wasn't trained. He had no connections. People like him didn't get discovered. They stayed in Leshan, worked ordinary jobs, and lived ordinary lives. But the whisper of possibility gnawed at him. What if? Dylan's parents were skeptical when he told them. His father frowned. Entertainment? That's unstable. You need a real job, something secure. His mother, though gentler, echoed the same worry. Don't chase illusions, son. It's Better to have both feet on the ground. Their words only deepened his self-doubt. But in the quiet of his room, when he looked at his reflection in the mirror, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he could be more than what Leshan had prepared him for. With hesitation, Dylan eventually called the number on the card. To his surprise, the scout remembered him immediately. Within weeks, he was invited to Shanghai for an informal audition. The experience was overwhelming. Bright lights, cameras, and confident young aspirants filled the audition hall. Dylan felt completely out of place, a boy from Leshan standing among dreamers who seemed far more prepared. When it was his turn, he was asked to perform a short dialogue and improvise a reaction to a scene. His voice shook at first, but something clicked inside him. He recalled his habit of mimicking characters from dramas at home, and he let instinct take over. When he finished, there was silence. Then, quiet nods from the panel. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Chapter 6. The Offer of a Lifetime. Weeks later, Dylan received a call that would change his life. The talent agency wanted to sign him for training, and they hinted at a possible role in the reboot of Meteor Garden, one of Asia's most iconic dramas. The news left him stunned. Meteor Garden was legendary. Millions of fans across Asia cherished it. To even be considered was surreal. Yet, excitement quickly tangled with fear. Could he really do this? Could a boy who had spent most of his life in a quiet city step into the shoes of a character that would be seen by millions? The weight of expectation pressed heavily on him. Chapter 7. Training and Transformation. Under the agency's guidance, Dylan began rigorous training. Acting workshops, dance classes, voice lessons, physical conditioning. His days became grueling marathons of self-improvement. He often felt like he was drowning. Surrounded by trainees who were more confident and skilled, he constantly compared himself, always finding himself lacking. Nights were the hardest, when exhaustion mixed with self-doubt, whispering that maybe his parents were right, maybe he didn't belong here. But every morning, he woke up and tried again. He remembered the cafe, the scout's words, and the chance he had been given. Slowly, he improved. His movements became sharper, his delivery stronger, his confidence steadier. Chapter 8. Landing Meteor Garden. After months of training, the agency confirmed it. Dylan had been chosen for a supporting role in the upcoming Meteor Garden. It wasn't one of the leading F4 roles, but it was significant enough to put him on the map. For Dylan, it was proof that all the struggle had been worth something. The premiere night of Meteor Garden felt unreal. Dylan sat in front of the television, with his parents back in Leshan. The small living room was filled with neighbors who had gathered to see the boy from our street on TV. When the scene appeared, the room erupted with cheers. His mother's eyes glistened with pride. His father, who once doubted the path, silently nodded, though Dylan noticed the way his lips curled into a faint smile. But Dylan's heart raced for a different reason. Instead of basking in joy, he noticed every flaw. The way his posture was slightly off, the hesitation in his tone, the nervous flicker in his eyes. The applause around him felt like echoes bouncing off a wall he couldn't climb. He smiled on the outside, but inside, the voice of doubt whispered, "You're not good enough." Back in Shanghai, Dylan found himself caught between two realities. On one side was a glimmering world of entertainment. Stylists, cameras, interviews, fans waiting with posters. On the other side was a humble world of Leshan, quiet streets, his mother's noodle stall, his father's worn-out jacket after long days of driving. Every trip home reminded him of who he once was. Children would run up to him shouting, "Gidge, we saw you on TV." Shopkeepers would smile wider when he entered. Yet, Dylan never quite knew how to carry this new identity. Was he the same boy who once spilled tea on customers at the cafe? Or was he the rising actor fans were now calling refreshing and different? The truth was, he was both, and being both was exhausting. One night, after a long day of filming, Dylan stood in front of the mirror in his small rented apartment. He rehearsed his lines for the next day's shoot, but every attempt sounded forced. Frustrated, he dropped the script and stared at his reflection. "Why you?" he muttered to himself. Out of all the people they could have chosen, why you? The silence of the room weighed on him. For a moment, he thought of giving up, of packing his bags and returning to Leshan, where life was simpler, where expectations were smaller. Then his phone buzzed. It was a message from the talent scout who had discovered him. Remember the boy in the cafe? That boy had something real. Don't lose him in the noise. He read the message again and again until his heartbeat slowed. Slowly, he picked up the script, steadied his breathing, and began again. During one particular shoot, Dylan struggled with an emotional scene. Take after take, the director sighed, unsatisfied. Dylan's frustration mounted. He felt everyone's eyes on him, the crew, the cast, the pressure of time. Finally, an older co-star, a veteran in the industry, pulled him aside. "You're trying too hard to act," the actor said. "Stop performing. Start feeling. Don't think about the camera. Think about the boy from Leshan. What would he feel if this happened to him?" Those words struck him. On the next take, Dylan stopped worrying about angles, about how he looked. He let the emotions flow naturally. When the director finally shouted, "Cut!" there was silence, followed by applause from the crew. For the first time, Dylan felt like he belonged. Weeks after the series aired, Dylan began receiving letters. One in particular stood out. "I come from a small town, too. Watching you makes me believe that even people like us can dream. Please don't give up, even when it's hard." Dylan read the letter several times. It reminded him of himself, of the boy who once thought dreams were impossible. He realized that his journey wasn't just about him anymore. Every step he took forward carried the silent hopes of people like that fan. People who needed proof that dreams could bloom even in the unlikeliest soil. But with growing fame came harsher criticism. Online forums buzz with comments. "He's too inexperienced. His acting lacks depth. Just another pretty face." Each word cut deep. Dylan found himself scrolling late at night, unable to stop reading the negativity. His chest tightened with every post. He began second-guessing his choices on set, worrying about how critics would dissect them. And yet, amid the storm, one truth kept him grounded. Every harsh word reminded him that he had something worth critiquing, something worth noticing. He wasn't invisible anymore. Months later, Dylan returned to Leshan for a short break. Out of curiosity, he visited the cafe where everything began. The tables, the scent of coffee, the clinking of cups. It was all the same. He sat quietly in a corner, watching a new part-timer wipe down tables nervously, just as he once had. For a brief moment, he saw himself in that young worker. Uncertain, ordinary, unaware that life could change in an instant. He smiled. The cafe wasn't just a place of work anymore. It was the birthplace of his second life. Dylan knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. Fame was fleeting, roles were competitive, and self-doubt would always linger like a shadow. But he also knew that hope was a stronger force. Whenever fear tried to pull him back, he remembered three things. The scout's card, given to him on an ordinary day. His parents' cautious pride. The fans who saw themselves in him. These became his anchors. As he prepared for his next project, Dylan whispered to himself, "Maybe I don't have to erase the boy from Leshan. Maybe I just have to bring him with me, everywhere I go." Conclusion. From a cafe in Leshan to the bright sets of Meteor Garden, Dylan's story is not just about discovery. It's about the ongoing battle between hope and self-doubt. His journey shows that dreams are never clean or easy. They are messy, fragile, and often terrifying. Yet, they are also worth it. And for Dylan, the boy who once served tea with